So you want to get better at math. And the way most people go about this is they sit down, stare at a problem they don't understand, watch a YouTube video about it, feel like they get it, close the tab, and then the next day they sit down again, stare at the same problem they don't understand, and wonder why nothing is changing. And if you went through the normal school system, you were probably taught math in the single worst way possible. Your teacher writes a formula on the board, tells you to memorize it, gives you 20 problems that all use that exact formula in the exact same way, and then puts you in a room alone with a test that uses the formula in a slightly different way, and suddenly you have no idea what you're doing. And that's not because you're bad at math. That's because you were trained to copy, not to think. The good news is that getting better at math is actually very easy. And no, the answer is not to download a math app and do 5 minutes of practice a day. Those apps are great for making you feel like you're doing something without actually doing anything. If you've ever done 30 days of Duolingo and still can't hold a conversation, you already know exactly what I mean. The real problem that almost nobody talks about is this. Most people who struggle with math are not bad at math. They just have gaps. Somewhere along the way, maybe in 6th grade, maybe in 8th grade, you missed something, or your teacher explained it badly, or you were just having a terrible week. And from that point on, every single math topic that built on top of that gap also stopped making sense. And because school moves fast and waits for nobody, you just kept falling further behind until math felt like a foreign language. So before you try to learn anything new, the first thing you need to do is find your gap. And this is actually very easy. Just go to Khan Academy, which is completely free, and go back to the last point in math where everything still made sense to you. For most people, this is somewhere in middle school. And just start there. Do the exercises, not just the videos. The videos will make you feel like you understand it. The exercises will actually tell you whether you do. And this brings us to the single most important thing you need to understand about getting better at math. Math is not a subject you watch. It is a subject you do. Reading about how to swim does not teach you how to swim. Watching someone else solve a problem does not teach you how to solve a problem. The only thing that teaches you math is sitting down and doing math until you get it wrong, figuring out why you got it wrong, and then doing it again. This is why textbooks are actually the best format for learning math. For the exact same reason, they are the best format for learning anything difficult. No fluff, no distractions, just information followed immediately by problems that force your brain to use that information. And if you can't solve them, you have to actually go back and figure out what you missed instead of just rewinding a video to the part that sounded smart. Now, here's the part where most people go wrong even after they've started practicing. They practice the same types of problems over and over until they feel comfortable, and then they call it a day. And this feels productive because you are getting better at those specific problems. But what you're actually doing is training yourself to recognize a pattern, not to understand the concept. And the moment the problem looks slightly different, you're lost again. The fix for this is something called interleaved practice. Instead of doing 20 of the same type of problem in a row, you mix up different types of problems in the same session. It feels harder. It is harder. But that difficulty is exactly what forces your brain to actually learn the material, instead of just pattern matching. Studies on this are pretty conclusive. Students who use interleaved practice consistently outperform students who do blocked practice on tests, even though blocked practice feels more productive while you're doing it. Your brain is very good at feeling productive without actually being productive. Another thing that will genuinely change how fast you improve is learning to be okay with not knowing. Most people sit down with a math problem, read it, feel confused, and immediately go look up the answer or watch a video. And what that does is rob your brain of the one moment where real learning actually happens. That moment of struggle, right before you figure something out, is not a sign that you're failing. It is literally the moment your brain is building new connections. So before you look anything up, spend at least 5 to 10 minutes genuinely trying to figure out what's going on. Even if you get it completely wrong, the attempt matters more than you think. This is also why teaching someone else what you just learned is one of the most effective ways to actually lock it in. You don't need an actual person. You can just explain the concept out loud to nobody in particular, which will feel slightly unhinged, but works extremely well. If you can explain it simply, you understand it. If you stumble and realize you actually have no idea what you're saying, then you just identified the exact thing you need to go back and review. This is called the Feynman technique, and it has a very fancy name for something that is basically just talking to yourself. Here are some practical tips to make all of this easier. Number 1. Use Khan Academy to fill your gaps and work through topics in order. Do not skip. Math is one of the few subjects where skipping something early will genuinely make everything after it harder. Number 2. Get a cheap notebook and do all your practice by hand. Writing things out by hand forces you to slow down and actually process what you're doing in a way that typing simply does not. Number 3. When you get a problem wrong, do not just look at the correct answer and move on. Figure out exactly where your logic broke down. The wrong answer is more useful than the right answer if you actually pay attention to it. Number 4. Do a small amount of math every single day rather than a long session once a week. 20 minutes every day will get you further than 2 hours on a Sunday because of how memory consolidation works while you sleep. Your brain is doing math homework for you every night, whether you like it or not. Number 5. If you want to go beyond Khan Academy, a website called Paul's Online Math Notes is one of the best free resources on the internet for algebra through calculus. It is not pretty. It looks like it was made in 2003. It is still better than most textbooks. Number 6. Stop telling yourself you are not a math person. There is no such thing as a math person. There are people who practiced math using the right method and people who didn't. That is the entire difference. Every time you say you're not a math person, your brain files that away as a reason not to try and gives you permission to stay exactly where you are. Number 7. The goal is not to memorize formulas. The goal is to understand what a formula is actually doing so well that you could reconstruct it yourself if you forgot it. If you understand the concept, the formula is just a shortcut. If you don't understand the concept, the formula is just a magic spell that stops working the moment the problem looks different. And that's genuinely all there is to it. Find your gap, fill it with practice, mix up your problems, struggle before you look things up, explain concepts out loud to your empty room like a completely normal person, and do a little bit every day. There is no secret beyond that. The people who are good at math are not smarter than you. They just spent more time doing the thing that actually works instead of the thing that feels like it works. Anyway, I'm collecting donations in the form of subscribes to fund the next video.